Try this one more time. We just keep having issues with our stream. In any case, I had bought some cards for a deck a long time ago. I don't know where the commander was, but something to do with equipments and like I guess every equipment attached he made soldier tokens or something. So we took the plastic covers that came off of those token cards that we bought for that deck, and we could repurpose some of those cards for the Machessa deck. So it should be good. But I'll try and sleeve what I think is probably the most valuable and go over all the cards that we got out of our collector booster box. Since the stream kept having issues, I haven't rewatched the stream to see if there was any major issues during it, but I know it was cutting in and out while we were doing it the other day. So we'll just try to recap on the cards that we got, and then those gift bundles should be coming in the 13th, which will be about I don't know what, like 10 days. So we'll get 6 of those. So because they ran out of stock, so we're gonna get 6 collector booster packs still. So we still have the potential of pulling something to recoup our costs. And then we have uh, what else do we have? 8 booster packs, I believe. So we'll get 48 booster packs, which would be a decent amount of cards. Now, out of this, I don't know exactly. We got, I don't think we got a ring, but out of the uh, topper, we got Borrowed Downs, which says Bojuka Bog. Foil, all that, you know. I don't know how decent of a pull it is. Bojuka Bog isn't like a crazy expensive card, I don't think, but I really like the foil and the artwork on this one. Full art foil. And I'm going to try and sleeve all the foil cards that I can with what I got. But I want to do the best ones that I can find. So we did pull a second Saruman the White Hand Commander card. So we pulled a second one of those, foil just like the Commander box. Don't know what they're going for, but we could potentially use him in a second deck if we wanted to, because we're already going to buy like 2 Mordor decks anyway, precons. Eventually, the artwork and stuff on this is still really good. Full art, no, maybe, no, maybe not. But if I do make a Saruman deck on his own, then that means I could still slot this guy in as one of the 99 in the Mordor deck, just kind of like as a secondary card because he does have pretty decent abilities. I mean, I would like to just separate them, keep them separate in the decks. But whenever you cast a non-creature spell, amass Orcs X, where X is that spell's mana value, and then Goblins and Orcs you can get Ward too. So it's not a terrible card in one of the 99 as own in the Dark Lord. Then we had Erwin, Lady of Rohan, foil. It's the one that if you have equipped creatures, you can give them Vigilance and First Strike, I believe. Yeah, and it reduces the equip abilities you activate. So, I mean, good art, looks pretty nice. Not my favorite card in the world, but potentially could go in like a Fellowship deck or something, maybe. Then I know that we had 2 Gandalf the Greys at least, and I think 1 Gandalf the White card. But this is the red-blue one with the ring art, that foil. And I know that we have one that's the same card but non-foil that came out. So I like the artwork and everything here. It's pretty nice. Um, so I'll keep that to the side. This one's more instant and sorcery spells. I would say that this card in particular, I mean, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you can choose one that hasn't been chosen, so you may tap or untap target creature. Deal 3 damage to each opponent. Copy target instant resource spell you control. Put Gandalf on top of its owner's library. So you get form of self-protection and also a form to cast spells. So if you wanted to make a Gandalf deck, potentially this would be good. But I could also see this working in like a Saruman deck as well. I mean, the name, like, Gandalf isn't going to help him, but like the card art with him falling kind of makes it seem like, maybe thematically you could put it in there, but not anything super crazy. We had a Fear, Fire Foes foil. Damage can't be prevented this turn. Deals X damage to target creature and 1 damage to that each other creature with the same controller. So some sort of removal card. I think I don't know who that is on that horse right there, but it's maybe a Nazgul or something. It's hard to see. Pretty cool artwork, even though the card isn't like super crazy. We have that Samwise the Stoutheart foil, but we're gonna be getting a bunch of these with the gift boxes as well. So it is something that I could trade off potentially. Full art foil though. If we have a full art Bilbo, we actually got, this is something I was kind of surprised with. We got that commander card that we wanted. Not necessarily the art that I wanted, but the art isn't terrible. But we got the commander card that I wanted for my Gundor deck out of the last pack of the collector booster packs. So, Faramir, Prince of Athelion. So, I might have not got the best artwork for both of them, but technically I got both the Witch King card that I was missing and the Faramir Prince of Athelion. So I did technically meet some of the goals that I was putting for my collector box. This one in particular, though, it's kind of the far away art. Maybe it'll be okay. It'll probably be all right. I'll just put this here. But I like him better than the Steward. But at the beginning of your end step, choose an opponent. At the beginning of that player's next end step, you draw a card if they didn't attack you that turn. Otherwise, create 3 1/1 white soldier tokens. And I'm gonna make a Gundor deck with this and like put Helm of the Host on it or something, and then like just make a bunch of copies. And if they attack me, I'll make 500 soldier tokens. And if they don't, I get to draw like 5 cards. It'll be great. And also, white blue is it's a deck color that I would play if I was playing competitively because I think it's just an extremely good color combination, and it was the first color combination I ever played in Magic, and I haven't played it since because I just did so well with white blue. Um, but this is a commander deck that I could potentially go back and play it again. And how I think is I would do it like Pillow 40. I would make myself like impossible to attack, um, and have my Gundor deck just sit there and let me draw cards, and then if they attack me, they're just going to let me produce a bunch of creatures. We also got Murhu Urukai Captain. If one or more 1/1 counters will be put on an army, goblin, or orc you control, that many +1/+1/+1 counters are put on instead. So we got a foil on that. He's also a 2-drop, 2/2 with Menace, Orc Soldier, legendary, so he can be a commander. Not too shabby. We didn't get any like super like crazy rings or anything. We got like stuff like Relentless Rohirrim. Like this card wouldn't really make it in a 99 for me, but if we're playing only Lord of the Rings card, it is thematic. So enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. So potentially, I mean, with the ring tempts you, it's kind of interesting because if it's the first time, he just becomes unblockable. If it's the second time, you start getting to where you can put him down, and then every combat he can draw you a card, which wouldn't be too bad. And then like the third one is basically Death Touch, and then the fourth one is extra damage. So I mean, the Ring Tempts You could potentially make this card more powerful than it is now, like a 4/3 for 4. Um, Because paying 4 mana, if I could attack with them twice and draw 2 cards, even though I have to discard, I could see it working. I don't know if I'm going to be able to separate the decks into individual factions or not, though. Then we have Westfold Riders, so this is another one that's not too amazing, but sack it, destroy an artifact or enchantment, activate only as a sorcery. So it's just kind of a weaker version of some of those cards you see on Magic the Arena. But we did get a foil Haunt of the Dead Marsh. I don't know exactly. Haunt of the Dead Marsh enters the battlefield, scry 1. You can pay 3, return Haunt of the Dead Marsh from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Activate only if you control a legendary creature. So that's interesting. And I do think that would work very well if you did a black deck on like Magic the Arena and you got 4 of these with 4 of those Skeleton Knights and 4 of those zombie things. Because that means you would have 12 creatures that are 1/1s that you can just bring back from your graveyard. Which would be pretty good. I think, anyway. Then we had this Great Hall of the Citadel. So this one is just a land. You can add a mana, or you can pay 1 mana and add 2 mana of any color combination. Spin and only cast legendary spells. So stuff like this is things that I'm thinking about putting in the Marchesa deck just for like mana fixing. Kind of reduce my like basic land count. I don't know if I want to necessarily add these, but I think the Great Hall of the Citadel does fit Marchesa's theme a little bit. It looks pretty good. And yeah, it might not be the best, but it would help. And having some mana fixing cards, I think, wouldn't be too bad. If I do end up trying to slot Darien, King of Tel'Ordor, in that deck as well, I was avoiding putting mana rocks in that deck, but if I do put the talismans and then I put pain lands in, that's potentially like, I don't know, like 5+ cards that could deal damage to myself, which could help me produce more stuff with Darien. But again, I prefer to use the equipment stuff. So then we had a foil full arts Elrond Master of Healing. So this is a better artwork, something I would probably like to play a little bit more than the other one. So whenever you scry, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to X target creatures, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. So this card in particular is probably going to go into my Fellowship deck if I was to do it, because if we use Aragon the Uniter, which we don't have access to that card yet, but when we gang that card or when I buy it, it's probably going to be the Fellowship Commander. And when you play a blue spell, I believe you scry. So if you play something like this, it would come in, you would get a scry 1, and then you get to put a 1/1 counter on stuff. And then green would allow you to put a 4/4 on something. So you could spike something up by like 5 power just by playing this card. And then, any other time that you play a blue spell or something, you'll get to put 1/1 counters on things. But the Fellowship deck, I think, is going to feel pretty janky no matter how I try to build it. Then we had this foil, just basic art Gandalf the White, which has the same picture as the card sleeves that I got for the human deck that I'm going to make at one point. So, Flash, you may cast spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. If a legendary permanent or an artifact enters the battlefield, entering or leaving the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger. That ability triggers an additional time. I don't know how useful this is. It's a legendary permanent. I mean, so legendary creatures entering and exiting would be useful, but I don't know about an artifact entering or exiting. Pretty good. I really like the art on this card. I wish it was full art. The foil is pretty nice. And I believe, so the next card after this, we have 2 Barad-dûrs. So that would be good because then we can have the Nazgul and the other one, but they're both full art. But this one is the foil full art Barad-dûr. So we pulled that out of there. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. You can add a black, or you can pay black and XX MS Orcs X activate only if a creature died this turn. So Yeah, sacking would be really powerful for these amass decks. So I think it's kind of 50-50. I think what you would want to do with these amass decks, with the Dark Lord and stuff in particular, is have cards that benefit you by sacking creatures, potentially, but also having methods to just swing in unblockable at people. Because if your orcs get like enchanted or something and they can't attack or do anything anymore, you have to be able to get rid of them to keep amassing. And then there's a number of things that you could do, like even like Ashnod's Altar, and you have Sauron on the field, and every turn your opponents would play a spell to let you produce a token or an army or a mass. Then you could sack it and get 2 mana and like play a spell off of that potentially. So we have a full art foil of many partings. Shuffle your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand. We also had a few ints. I'm actually surprised by this package because we didn't really get a ton of copies of things. We got some int cards, some Hobbit cards, some Mordor cards, some Gundor cards, some Elf cards. Like we got a good variety of everything, which I'm pretty satisfied with that, I guess, for the most part. And we got Erwin the Indomitable foil. Whenever you scry, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So she would probably go in the Fellowship deck as well. And you can pay 6 to scry 2. 2-drop as well. That's interesting, because if you had her as a commander, you could do blue-green, 2-drop, 2/2 on the field, and then if you had scry cards, you could just make her massive pretty big, pretty quickly. With any ramp at all, I mean, you could start using that double scry pretty early. Then we had Stewards of Osgiliath in foil. Enters you, the ring tempts you, and then when you draw your second card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on Stewards of Osgiliath. So I think this is what you're supposed to do with these Gundor type cards that put 1/1 counters on themselves. Is you just make yourself very difficult to attack, and then you play that Faramir card, and you just make it to where every turn you get to draw a card, and then you get 1/1 counters and stuff every time. And then if you have that's a triggered ability. So if you have like all the stuff that I use for my decks, like Lithoform Engine that copies triggered abilities, I could use with Faramir and then like trigger it and mark multiple people or the same person and get multiple cards or multiple soldiers just by that without even having to make bonus tokens, you know. Then we have my Orcish Bowmasters. So this is the only one that we got out of here. Probably would go in my Nazgul deck potentially, but foil, full art, pretty nice. But 2-drop for a 1/1 flash. When Orcish Bowmasters enters the battlefield, and whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one, they draw in each of their draw steps. Orcish Bowmasters deal 1 damage to any target, then amass Orcs 1. So pretty interesting, pretty nice. The reason why I would put this in the Nazgul deck out of anything, just starting off, is because the Lord of the Rings movie, when the Nazgul was attacking Gondor, that's when you really seen these archers pop off a little bit. Otherwise, you didn't really see that many archers in the films. It was mainly like the goblins. So I'm at least happy that I got one of these. And it's actually a really nice card in general, so I think that's probably good. And then we have just a mono blue Lord, Elrond, Lord of Rivendell. Uh, when he when Elrond or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, the ring tempts you. So it's an interesting card. I mean, 3 mana for a 3/2, so you could play this pretty easy in the first couple turns. And then you play another creature, and you're going to get a scry. And then the ring would tempt you very quickly with him, potentially. So I don't know. Very powerful card potentially, but mono blue is not my thing. So I'd probably slot him as a 90, like one of the 99, and I'd probably put him in an elf deck if we're gonna be completely serious about it. Um, his daughter is gonna be the leader of my elf decks, 100% though, because in the movie, let's be honest, she was the leader for sure. We have a Shire full art foil that came through. Enters battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature, and then you get green mana, or you can pay 2 and then tap an untapped creature you control, create a food token. Can't really complain with it. Really nice looking art and foil. I like it. Um, that is the last of my sleeves, so I need more sleeves. We still had Gollum the Patient Plotter with the gift bundle card art foil. We had Legolas Counter of Kills in a foil. The Wizard Rockets and foil. We had Sauron the Necromancer, which is also another card that we needed for the Nazgul deck, which is really nice. And then we had the Pippin Guard of the Citadel, not in the artwork that I really wanted, but we got the ring artwork with a really nice picture in foil. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that. Because all that looks pretty nice. I don't know if there's any cards I would like. I would probably switch out like Westfold Rider, Relentless Rohirrim for one of these potentially. Fearfire Foes. I'd probably swap out for some of these. So I think we want to sleeve Pippin, Sauron, probably Legolas. That'll leave Gollum, Patient Plotter, and Wizard Rockets. I don't know. Wizard Rockets is like a one-use kind of mana fix. I'm not opposed to it. I don't know if it's necessarily the best or not, but I'm not opposed to it. And we got so many more cards because we don't even have the land cards and stuff in sleeves. And I don't even know how to buy these basic sleeves here. So that's something I need to figure out probably. But I have quite a lot on my plate for this week for sure. So I'll put Sauron the Necromancer in there. Yeah, Pippin. Now, I don't expect any of these to actually give me my value back from the deck, so that's the thing, or the pack, I should say. But I know we probably got a couple $100 there. So as long as we have like, $100 or $200 worth of value potentially, um, rolling the dice on the rest of it would probably be fine. So we still had Faramir, Bilbo Retired Burglar Full Art, and Sagret Loot Bearer. 3 additional cards that were pretty cool. We got a Shire Sheriff Full Art, Paradin Took Foil Ring Art. I could probably stick these in the book for a while. Then we got a Paradin Took just ring art. We had a Fairgorn Forest, so Cradle of Growth. Each land is a force in addition to its other types. Pippin thought he saw groves of trees moving. Could it be that the trees of Furgorn were awake and the forest was rising, marching over the hills to war? Full art. I like that card. We had a Mary Warden of Isengard. Well, not a full art, but a pretty nice art. Extended art or something, maybe. artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. Interesting. He's a partner. We had Dawn of a New Age, extended art, I believe. Celeborn the Wise, just foil. Just a foil forest. Galadriel of Lothlorien. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you chose a creature other than Galadriel Lothlorien as your ring bearer, scry 3. Whenever you scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, it's revealed this way. Put it onto the battlefield tapped. So I'd probably put her in the Fellowship deck maybe as well. Friendly Rivalry in foil. Glimley's Fury in foil. Woe's Pathfinder foil. Soldier of the Grey Host in foil. Bewitching Leechcraft in foil. We had a Figorn Tree Shepherd, like full art foil. I really like that guy. So he's probably going to go over here as well. We got a few that we need to stick in this different pile, but with the Lash of the Balrog in foil, Nasty End full art, Barad-dûr full art, Mines of Moria full art, Gollum Patient Plotter ring art, Sauron Lord of the Rings, the commander card, Golan Dwarf Emissary, Call of the Ring foil, Stew of Conies foil, Glorious Gale foil, Limbus foil, Elven Farsight foil. So that's nice. I had Samwise Stoutheart ring art, Hadar Lothorian Lieutenant, extended art, Dunedain Blade foil, Borrowblade foil, Troll of Khazad-dûm foil, Swarming of Moria foil, Easterling Vanguard foil. Then we had a ring art, Legolas Counter of Kills, Delighted Halfling, extended or full art foil. Looks like full art foil. Meriadoc Brandybuck, foil ring art. Prince Ymir the Fair. We got him with a pretty cool artwork, I must say. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 white soldier, human soldier creature token. So I think that's pretty cool. I still need to figure out who this dude is, but I really like the art on that card. Wouldn't mind him being my commander either. He looks pretty cool. But we got another Gandalf the Grey, just ring art. Meriadoc Brandybuck ring art. Mussanark Captain extended art. Press the Enemy extended art. Dunedain Cerblain foil extended art. Mirkwood Bats full art. Inn of the Prancing Pony. Don't know if I would put that in Marchesa's deck or not, but full art. Grimly Counter of Kills ring art. Taunt from the Rampart extended art potentially would go in the Marchesa deck. Lortho Corrupt Shearf. Fangorn Tree Shepherd. So this is the same card that we had earlier, but different art and foil. Intish Restoration and foil. Ents Fury and foil. Ithilien Kingfisher and foil. East Farthing Farmer, foil. Lotharian Lookout, foil. Pippin's Bravery, full art. Merry Esquire of Rohan, ring art. Gandalf, Friend of the Shire, ring art. Looks like a thing from Harry Potter. Assemble the Entmoot, extended art. Delighted Halfling, extended art. Golan, Dwarven Emissary, foil. Ekenbrand, Lord of Westfode, foil. Uruk-hai Berserker, foil. Treason of Isengard, foil. Took Reaper, foil. Shadow of the Enemy, foil full art. We had 2 of those, I believe, as well. Samwise Stoutheart ring foil. The Balrog Durin's Bane with full art, I believe. Really nice looking. Elrond, Master of Healing, ring art. Frodo Baggins's ring art. Subjugate the Hobbits with full art, like art that looks really cool right here. Like a really cool looking card. Elven Chorus, Goblin Fireleaper foil, Uruk of the White Hand foil, Mirkwood Spider foil, Erwin's Gift foil, Olog-hai Crusher foil. Oh man, we're getting there. Took me an hour to open all these before. You remember? Like, that was crazy. Sadly, we didn't get a Uniter, but we might get one in one of the booster packs, so I'm not, like, super... Eventually, I'm going to get all the foils and extended arts and stuff that I can, but Delighted Halfling foil, Storm of Saruman foil, Stone of Eric foil, Gift of Strands foil, Brandywine Farmer foil, Second Breakfast foil, Slip on the Ring foil, Haradrim Spear Master foil, Sting the Glinting Dagger foil, Dúnedain Rangers foil, Gollum Patient Plotter foil normal art, I guess, Banish of Edoras foil, the Black Breath foil, Rush the Room foil, Birthday Escape foil, Samwise Gamgee ring art foil, Nasty End full art foil, Shadow of the Enemy just full art, Boromir Warden of the Tower foil, Morg Bag of Minas Morth foil, Denethor Ruling Steward foil, Pippin's Bravery foil, Smite the Deathless foil, Deceive the Messenger foil, Fog on Barad-dûr's foil, Rosy Cotton of Southlane foil full art, Boromir Warden of the Tower ring art foil, like that's all I can really say with like all of these is I really didn't get a ton of like copies of things. Like if I got the same card in one of these packs, it was basically a different art for the most part. Like there's like 3 cards that I got 2 of, and like one would just be like a full art plain card, and the other one would be like a full art foil, which I think is fine. And then I think we put most of our lands here, but I don't know. So we have Foil Swamp, Foil Island, another Foil Island, Foil Plains, Foil Forest, Foil Mountain, Foil Plains, Foil Swamp, Foil Plains, Foil Mountain, Foil Trebuchet of Mordor, Foil Full Art Pippin's Bravery. Uh, Arwen Fearless Knight Full Art looks really good. Just that full picture they have there, it looks really good. We got a reflecting pool for full art. I don't think it's a bad card. I could go in the Marchesa deck potentially. We got a basic Nazgul, one of them. I think we had two in this whole thing. We had a Blackgate extended art, Hugh the Entwood extended art, another island foil, One Ring to Rule Them All foil, Ent Drought Basin foil, Peregrine Took with a different art foil, Generous Ent foil, Nim Rodel Watcher foil, Battle Scarred Goblin foil, Isolation of Orthanec foil, and I think that's the same Nazgul, if I am to guess. I don't think we have all of the lands in the foil, but I think we're pretty close if I was to guess. And then we got a Ferocious Fellbeast foil full art, which I don't really like this card, but it's alright. Samwise Stoutheart full art, Shards of Nearseal full art, maybe. Greyhost Reinforcements extended, Mithril Coat extended, Faramir Field Commander ring art, Farmer Cotton extended, Flowering of the White Tree extended, Delightful Halfling extended, Gandalf the White ring art. I thought he was on his horse originally, and I thought that was cool, but then I figured out he was floating in the air, and that's kind of weird. But then again, like, so I have two of these. One of them, I like the other art probably better than this because it actually looks like Gandalf and stuff. This one looks like a god, but I don't know how good that card is. Like, I can't really think of any reason to use it for anything. Then we got Elrond, Lord of Rivendell ring art, Bilbo's ring. I think this is the only one that we got out of here. It's another unblockable card. There's a lot of cards out there that can make your stuff unblockable. Loribel Sackville Baggins, Duneland Celebrine. Another Samwise Games U ring art. A Nazgul. So we got a second Nazgul, different artwork. Model of Unity, extended art. Battle of Bywater, extended art. Mary Esquire of Rohan, just a foil. Shadowfax, Lord of Horses foil. Horses of Bruinen foil. Coral's End. Greyhaven's Navigator foil. Torment of Gollum foil. Bombadil's Song foil. And then we had a bunch of tokens. Human, Food, Spirit, Orc, Tentacle, Orc, Ballistic Boulder, Orc, Human, Smog, Human. But yeah, I got a good amount of cards of pretty much the best variety I could think of for the most part. I was just shocked that when I bought this pack originally, my main goal, like I got some of those cards. Like so I got the 4 cost blue-white commander, which is the one that I wanted for the Gundor deck. I got the Witch King card, which is one I needed for the Nazgul deck. I got Sauron, Lord of Necromancers, which is the one that I needed for um, the Nazgul deck. I got Sauron, Sauron the Dark Lord or whatever, which was a card that I needed for the Sauron deck. I got the Mithril Coat, which is a card that I just wanted to have, and I need another one. I got two of the Nazguls. I mean, a bunch of other art that I like, and it's really cool. So, I mean, wasn't necessarily worth the money, but potentially, who knows. And when we get the gift bundles, we'll get 6 more packs that we can open for this selection of cards. So, in a grand total of everything, we spent about $1,000 for a collector booster box and 4 of the gift bundles. Um, yeah, and then we had the starter deck, and we got 2 of the normal decks, and we're supposed to get 4. So we're supposed to have 6 commander decks. But we were having problems with that, so we're still down 4 commander decks. So we're still going to get 4 additional sample booster packs at some point. So probably the most I've spent on anything for myself in a while. And I probably should have got a cold plunge if I'm going to be honest, but you know. And then deck playing wise, we played both of these precon decks for the humans and for Mordor. And what I can tell you is I played the Mordor deck with Saruman as the commander originally, and it worked okay. It wasn't terrible, but you definitely lost power if you didn't have any spells, and I wasn't consistently casting spells. There are creatures that let you free cast spells and stuff, which is pretty nice. So I think it worked really like decently with Saruman as the commander. But since we pulled Sauron, uh, the Dark Lord or whatever his name is, out of a sample pack, we put him as the commander in there at one point, and then we had the Witch King mono black card that we replaced the Felbeast with in this deck. So we pulled out the Troll of Khazad-dûm for Sauron, and then we pulled out the Wingwraith for the Witch King. And when you play Sauron, or like the Dark Lord in the deck, I think it works really good. Even though it comes out a little bit slower than Saruman, it's just consistent amass triggers, and he's very well protected with his ward ability. So it's very difficult for anyone to deal with him. So you basically get a commander that has almost free protection, if you wanted to be technical, and and he gets to amass orcs every turn. I forgot what his other abilities were. I think it's like if your army attacks, you get a draw card. So Dark Lord definitely has more value, I think, than Saruman in general. Then with the human deck, we tried it with Erwin as the commander. I just don't think the human deck is nearly as strong as Mordor. Uh, the thing with this is that I hit a mana issue. Like I didn't get enough mana to keep popping off. But even if I did, I don't think it would have mattered. Her ability is like if you play a human, you get 2 additional knights with haste, which is good. And then when you have 6 humans, when they attack or something, you get to draw a card. If you have 6 humans, you get to draw a card. So I think if you're gonna play her as the commander, you need mana, you need tempo. You need to be able to get her down quickly, and then you just need to keep playing as many spell humans as you can to get more and more night tokens and just swing at people. But it stalls very easy. She doesn't have as much protection as Mordor at all, so it's just there's not a whole lot you can do if things go south. So Sauron the Dark Lord. So he has Ward, and you have to sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, amass works 1. Whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may draw a card. You may discard your hand and then draw 4 cards. So pretty good value, I think, on this commander. Like 6 drop. So he's just like Darius, but he has automatic protection. And then you're going to get orcs. If you have any sack outlets, you can get value off the orc bodies. If not, you can get a big body to swing in on your turn. And then when the ring tempts you, you can put it on him. You're going to get more card draw when the ring tempts you and you have a ring bearer. Then you're going to get more, like death touch basically on one of them. Then you can also get like, what's the other one? If you hit, you do 3 more damage. So with him, if he hits and he has that 4th tempt ability, you're going to do 10 damage to somebody just automatically. So a lot of value just with that commander alone, which is part of the reason why I think I'm going to separate the decks into uh, Saruman, Sauron, and the Nazgul. Because you could potentially like put the Nazgul in the Mordor deck, but I just don't think it's necessary. I think the Witch King, Lord of the Nazgul, and then you can have Sauron the Necromancer as like their connection to Sauron in that deck, and they'll do perfectly fine on their own. But then like with Mordor, I think we just need to focus on like the goblins and the beasts and stuff. Because right now we're probably just gonna have the Fellowship, a human deck, and an elf deck potentially. So the elf would be against Mordor, human against the Witch King, and Isengard versus Rohan. Well, Isengard versus the Fellowship. Um, yeah, for now. If I was gonna separate it anymore, I'd probably do like Beasts and Mordor separated, and then like the Fellowship and Rohan separated maybe, and then you could keep the Fellowship versus Mordor, Elves versus Beasts, um, Rohan versus Isengard, and all that stuff. But I don't know how many actual creatures and things we have access to in these decks. Um, I don't know who exactly else could be the commander for the human deck, but it just didn't really pop off as well. Like, so her ability is, first off, she's a 5-drop commander that's 5/4. So, like, she's coming out about the same time that Sauron's going to come out. And he has more toughness, more power, everything. But she has first strike. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if another human entered the battlefield under your control this turn, create a 2/2 red human knight creature token with trample and haste. And then if you control 6 or more humans, you draw a card. So it's not terrible. But she's coming in for 5, and she's white, red, blue. So we need a white, red, blue commander to keep this deck running. And the only other thing like that, I think, is like Aragon the Uniter, but we don't have that card. And I don't think they have a Gandalf card that is that many colors either. So if we look through this precon, what we're going to find is, see if we can find another commander. We have Soul Ring, Thought Vessel and stuff is interesting here. Taunt from the Ramparts. Village Bellringer. Door of Destinies. Stuff like that is, I never buy Door of Destinies, but I probably should use it more. Door of Destinies is basically the same as Cathar's Crusade, but it's better, sort of. If you have creatures to cast, I guess. See, Dearly Departed we played last time, and it's just not that great, to be honest. It's alright, but it's not that great. Harsh Mentor didn't really help us much either. Humble Defector, I really like this card, I think, and I think I'm going to put it in my Marchesa deck as well. Because it's a 2-drop for a 2/1, and you can tap it, draw 2 cards, and then target opponent gain control of Humble Defector. Which means that I could take Humble Defector, put equipments on it, and then give it to my enemy. And make an alliance early. So I could give them lands or something. Or like I could use it early, and give myself mana, and then make a deal and give it to someone else so they could get some mana later. They also got a lot of color fixing, which is nice. Vanquisher's Banner. It's like a draw card. It's not terrible, but I don't think it's the best. Weathered Wayfarer, I'm not a big fan of. So first you got Boromir Gundor's Hope, but it's not. He's like a search card. Human or artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. I just don't know how useful that is. It's going to be good if I built a deck like this that's blue-white, so my Gundor deck, for example, I could slot equipments in the Gundor deck and then swat search cards for equipments and search cards for creatures or humans, and he would fit in there pretty easily, I think, because you basically get to look at the top six, and it's or attack. So you look at the top six cards of your library, and then you reveal a human or artifact card from them and put it into your hand. So I mean, it's not onto the battlefield, but you are getting to pull something into your hand. So it's basically attack and draw one, which is all right. Frontline medic with different art. It's gonna go in my Marchesa deck as well. Crown of Gundor. I don't really. It's like I really liked these equipments that give you +1/+1 for each creature you control, but the thing is with these is just they're strong when they're strong. They don't need to ramp up exactly. As long as you can make creatures fast, it's pretty good. But like if someone destroys your creatures, you got issues. Whereas like there's other things like Mesa the Vigilant where it gets counters every turn. And so you can basically just equip it on a creature and then you're good to go. Something happens to your creatures, you just re-equip that to your creature and you're good to go again. So kind of hard to say which is better. I like thematically, I like it better when the +1/+1 counters for each creature you control is on the field because, like, Mesa the Vigilance, for instance, like each turn it gets a one counter. So like after 4 turns, you're gonna get that +1/+1 counter, and then you can just put it on a creature and you can keep it for as long as you want. But with the Gundor one, it's like if you're making one creature per turn, it's going to be exactly the same. If your creatures get wiped out, it's going to be weaker. But if your artifacts ever get destroyed and you have to bring them back, potentially the creature version could be better. And the Fealty to the Realm is a really nice card I like as well. It gives you Monarch, and then the Monarch controls an enchanted creature. I just think that's a really solid card. Something that I could potentially put in a lot of different decks that I've already had in the past. But see, like, you got Éomer, King of Rohan, which is like at the end of the movie type of thing, and then Theoden, King of Rohan, but they're both white-red. So even if you wanted to make a Rohan deck with these guys as the commander, then Erwin Shield Maiden wouldn't fit in this deck because she has blue. So, and I don't. The only other Erwin there is the Lady of Rohan, which is white. So if you made a Rohan deck, you'd put her in there. But this one, I don't know who you could slot her under. She's just like her own thing. It'd have to be like Aragorn the Uniter. That's probably yeah. She would go in the yeah. She would go in the yeah. I could see that happening. She would go in the Fellowship deck as a secondary commander to Aragorn. Yeah, because you play a human, and you're gonna get more humans, and if you get 6 or more, you're gonna draw cards. So if you play her late and you already have creatures on the field, you get to draw cards, and then if you play her early, then you get extra creatures, and she would give you all of the stuff that you need for Rohan. And then Aragorn gives you I think when you cast white spells, it creates Gundor soldiers. So that would give you Gundor and Rohan soldiers all in one. See, so we got Aragorn, King of Gundor, that you can play as a commander here, but Vigilance Lifelink enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. It's a 4-drop instead of a 5-drop. Whenever he attacks, up to one target creature can't block this turn. If you are the Monarch, creatures can't block this turn. So I could see Aragorn, King of Gundor, leading the deck potentially if you wanted early card draw and being able to take the Monarch and being able to put the Monarch. I mean, maybe that's what you're supposed to do in this deck. I mean, I could see that being the thing you're supposed to do. And then we got Faramir, Steward of Gundor here. Whenever a legendary creature with mana value 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you become the Monarch at the beginning of your end step. If you're the Monarch, create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. So Faramir, Steward of Gundor is also a potential replacement commander for my Gundor commander deck. The difference here is that like he wouldn't give you, well, it says mana value 4 or greater. So like in his first summoning, you wouldn't become the Monarch, which wouldn't put a target on your head. But if you ever got destroyed and then brought back, you'd become the Monarch. But he's basically, if he's your commander, there's not a whole lot you could do. Like, you have to get him killed and then resummon him for 5 and then become the Monarch. But then if you keep it, that's the only thing I don't like about it. With this one, it's like if you don't have the Monarch, you don't get any benefit. But if you have the Monarch, you're drawing a card and you're getting 2 human soldiers each turn, which is pretty good. But then with the other one, it's just if they attack you, you get 3 soldiers, and if they don't attack you, you get a card. So potentially, Faramir, Steward of Gundor is better, but it's kind of hard to say. You got Throne of the High City. Yeah, so really, these are the only 2 commanders that you get options for in this deck from the start. So, Arwen Shield Maiden is going to be turn 5, potentially. And then every time you cast a human, you're going to get 2 human soldiers. So you get Arwen, then your next cast, you have 4. So it's going to take you 3 turns, or it's going to take you 2 turns after getting her on the field. Potentially, to get your first card draw. Whereas with Aragorn, he would come down a turn earlier and could potentially keep the Monarch. But the other thing is it's King of Gundor, which doesn't really fit my theme, you know? Like, I could put him, I could put both of these in the Fellowship deck, potentially. But I just think you'd have too many Aragorns in that deck, because Aragorn the Uniter would be the commander. Then you have Aragorn the Trailblazer, or whatever, would be one of the 99. And then Aragorn King of Gundor, I mean, it makes sense, but it's like, that's the end of the movies. Kind of like Ormir King of Rohan. That card wouldn't fit in the Fellowship deck, because that doesn't happen until the end of the movies. Wherever he's on. Yeah, right here. Because he's a 5-drop too with double strike. Enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each other human you control. When Airmere enters the battlefield, target player becomes the Monarch. Airmere deals damage equal to its power to any target. I think Airmere would be really good as just a solid solo commander on his own, but he's white-red. Comparing him to Theoden. So Theoden, when a creature enters the battlefield, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. He's okay, but he's not nearly as strong as Earmere, because Earmere is going to come in, automatically have double strike, and then get 1/1 counters for each other human you control. So he can probably become like a 6/6 with double strike or something. And then enters the battlefield, target player becomes the monarch, and then, deals damage equal to its power to any target. Would be pretty nuts. So I mean, but they have the potential for like a unity between Gundor and Rohan here, because he could come in and he could give the monarch to Gundor, but any target equal, like, damage equal to its power. Like, if he comes in and gets 10 power, he could just one-shot somebody. And, like, he doesn't have haste, but, like, even if you summoned him and he had, like, if he had 10 power and you just drop him and you do 10 damage to somebody, and then next turn you're swinging for 20 damage, it's pretty strong physical damage, you know? But out of these two, I mean, so yeah, so Aowen would need 2 turns before she got to draw her first card, and it would give her more soldiers. Aragorn can come down turn 4, so a turn earlier, draw a card, then turn 5, draw a card, then turn 6, draw a card. And our first hand in this deck, yeah, the first hand in this deck, we have 1, 2, 4 lands, which would be just enough to get Aragorn out. We happen to have Faramir, Steward of Gondor here, which means he would come down, and then we wouldn't have any other ability. He would come down turn 3, so then you would require Aragorn to come down turn 4 to get all the extra cards and benefits. But then we have Palace, Jailer. So like this right here, our first hand has 4 lands, just enough for Aragorn, and then it would take 4 more turns before we got the 5th land. So it'd already be turn 8 or 9 before Eowyn got down, where Aragorn would already be down. So I don't think that we can afford, not to have Aragorn as the deck in these precons, because he doesn't have the raw, like, they don't have the raw power to take over a game. Because, like, if Eowyn comes down turn 8, and let's say turn 8, and then I have to, actually, I also get Duradane Protector there, which means I could flicker Aragorn and get the Monarch back easily. But it would take like another, like, 2 turns before I get an additional creature. And then I get a Saga. Then I get a removal. Then I get a sphere. Then I get a second creature. So we're already like at turn 15, 16, or 20. And I might get 3 creatures off. Yeah, so Eowyn's just not as strong as Aragorn, probably. And potentially Aragorn the Uniter would be better, but also Aragorn coming down turn 4, even if I don't keep the Monarch, it gives my opponent something to swing at without having to swing at me. So it's not necessarily terrible. That's Saruman the Necromancer. When Sauron the Necromancer attacks, exile target creature card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a black wraith. See, I could put Legolas and stuff into the deck, I think, right now. It was white, blue, and green, I believe. So we could... No, there's red in there. It was white, red, green. I think. Which means we couldn't put Gimli in there, which is a problem. Put Elrond in there. Stewards of Ogoliath. I don't know if that was in there or not either. Barad-dûr. Gandalf. I mean, with Aragorn the Uniter and Gandalf, I mean, if you're playing legendary creatures which activate his ability, then you could activate Aragorn the Uniter's ability twice. It could be good. I mean, if you're playing mainly legendary creatures, I could see Gandalf being strong, because you'd play him in like Eowyn or Aragorn. Like Eowyn in particular, like you would play him and then Eowyn would come in, or you'd have Eowyn in and then you play Gandalf. Gandalf would come in. Eowyn would trigger because a human came in. Actually, is he a human? No, he's an Avatar wizard. That wouldn't even work. But if you had a human come in, it would trigger her twice, which would make 4 soldiers, which would be better. But you also have Han of the Dead Martian stuff in here, though, too. I don't know what we could do with all this. Like, we could put Lady of Rohan in there, but just a lot of choices. I would say that I probably need to put Sauron the Necromancer in the Mordor deck. So, I mean, it's slightly modified. Is this the right one? Yeah. We got Sauron the Dark Lord. With the card sleeves that I need to replace at some point. Now, what to take out is the question. Like, we could Cavern Horde Dragon. I mean, that thing's just making a bunch of tokens. I don't think it necessarily follows the theme. Lord of the Nazgul, Impetus, Black Gate. Inferno Titan. Treasure Nabber. Shelob. Stuff like this, like Merciless Executioner. I mean, 3-drop, 3/1, enters each player sacrifices a creature. So, I mean, you play 3, and then it's basically like destroy 3 creatures. Revenge of the Raven. So whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, that creature's controller loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. That's interesting because it'd be good versus swarm decks and stuff if you want a pillow fort, but since it's black, like you could put that in a Marchesa deck and be pretty good deterrent, you know. Get that plus Light Minefield. I don't think anyone would really want to mess with you. Alright, we'll find this card and replace it, and then I'll have to hop off after that. All creatures get 4/4. Reanimate. Lidless Gaze. Thrill of Possibility. Goblin Crate Makers, basically removal spell. We have Sauron, Lord of the Rings. I mean, when you cast it, you amass Orcs 5, mill 5 cards, and return a creature card from graveyard to the battlefield. Has Trample. Whenever an opponent, a commander controlled dies, the ring tempts you. I don't think. I mean, it's an 8 cost 9/9 commander. I mean, well, actually, it's 8 cost, and it comes with 14 power. Actually, more than that, because you can. It's probably you're looking at like 20 power potentially by playing that. See, In the Darkness Bind Them is something that would be a Mordor card, but the thing is that you can't do that with the Witch King because with the Witch King, you're creating a 3/3 Black Wraith creature token for 3 turns. But it's like you can't play that card in a Nazgul deck because it has red. But if you play Nazgul in a Mordor deck, then why play anything else? Because you have the Nazgul. So why not? Here's the other thing. So like, is it Monstrosity? Yeah, Monstrosity of the Lake we tried to play last time, and it just you're looking at 10 mana to play potentially a game-ending, like 10 mana to basically swing in twice on enemy, which is pretty good in game. But this last time we tried to wait it out and play that card, and it just didn't work. You know, cast target instant. Cost. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Guide or Snipe deals 2 damage to each opponent. Consider. Surveil 1. Draw card. Interesting. Living Death. Balrog of Moria. See, Wake the Dragon is okay, but I don't think it's that great, you know? Nullspine Dragon. Enters the battlefield, you may discard your hand, and draw cards equal to the damage dealt the target opponent this turn. I mean, it seems like it could be good, but it seems like it'd also be bad, so I don't really know. I don't think it's probably the most consistent card in the world, but Decree of Pain, destroy all creatures, can't be regenerated. And it's a draw card. That's pretty good. Commander Sphere. Target goblin, orc, or pirate can't be blocked. There's a lot of unblockable in these decks, so like if you have Bilbo's, like you can make a Mordor deck with a mass and just unblockable. Because you got Blackgate, Bilbo's Ring, Crusaders of Umbar, Secret Bookcase, all that stuff that you could put in here just to smack somebody for like 20 damage. Scourge of the Throne. First on each turn, if it's attacking the player with the most life or tied for the most life, untap all attacking creatures. After this phase, there's additional combat phase. I mean, Scourge of the Throne, both, like, I mean, it's extra combats. Only happens when you hit the one with the most life. I could potentially replace, I mean, it's a 6-drop red monster where I could easily put Sauron the Necromancer there, which is going to bring back multiple cards as wraiths. Yeah, I'll drop Scourge of the Throne for Sauron the Necromancer. I don't really know. It has Gundor art, but it doesn't really fit in with anything to me unless, like, I could put it into, like, a, what you call it? I could probably put it into a, like, Smog deck, maybe. Alright. So now we have 3 card changes to the Commander deck. None of which I think are weakening it. I think they're all good additions. So, like, the Witch King of Agmar is like, if you attack me, it's like a 5/3, and if you attack me, you have to sacrifice a creature that dealt damage to me. And we replaced a Fell Beast that, like, when it enters the battlefield, target player, like, sacrifices a creature. So it's just better, and it costs less or something like that, I think, as well. And you can discard a card and turn it indestructible. So now with Sauron the Necromancer, it means that we could potentially just sit there and activate as indestructible to discard a card into our graveyard, then play Sauron the Necromancer, and then bring that back as a Wraith onto the battlefield. Yeah, and then we replaced the Troll of Khazad-dûm with the Lord, Sauron the Dark Lord, or Sauron of the Ring. I think it was Sauron the Dark Lord that we did. We kept Sauron the Lord of the Rings in the deck. And then now we just replaced Scourge of the Throne. So it's a 6-drop, 2 red, and 4 mana for a flying dethrone. Whenever this creature attacks a player with the most life or tied for the most life, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever Scourge of the Throne attacks for the first time each turn, if it's attacking the player with the most life or tied for the most life, untap all attacking creatures after this phase. There's additional combat phase. So 6 mana for a 5/5 flying that could potentially get bigger and give you additional combats, which is good. But for 5 mana, we can get Sauron the Necromancer out, which I think was a 5/5 or a 4/4, and it brings a creature back to the battlefield as a 3/3 Wraith. And then when we attack, we can do it again and again, which means we can bring back all of our crazy powerful cards as Wraiths. And then we can use the Nazgul to buff those up eventually. So, I mean, we could potentially keep the Nazgul with the Sauron deck together, but it seems like it'd be fairly difficult to pull off, you know? And I guess we're going to leave these cards here for now until we can get some additional card sleeves. But so I won't be playing any video games or anything probably. And I might take a break from video games for a while. I know the new expansion of Guild Wars 2 just came out, and I want to do all the Warhammer stuff or whatever. But I think at this point in my life, I need to just start making more money. And I might just get a second job. Um, I was going to go and see about truck driving, but it takes time to learn all that. Anything can go wrong, but they're getting like 80,000 a year. The main thing is that the place that I would truck drive, I don't think they would allow me because I'm also doing security there. So there is that. But even if I went and got another job that did $10 an hour and I worked, uh, you know, 4 tens, then I would have 40 additional hours in the week. So $400, then you get like 10% tax or 20% tax. You get like 350 bucks from that. So that's 700, 1400 bucks in a month. And then you're looking at basically over a year, uh, 14,000, 15,000 extra dollars that I wouldn't have. And then when I go to auctions, I could just dump that money into properties if I want or whatever. Basically, 1 year I could build me a slab out here next to my house, and then in 2 years I could build my gym building or whatever I wanted here. But basically, I could either put that money into something to save and make interest off, which would be the smart move, or I could buy real estate stuff, which would also be a decent move. My sister doesn't have a house, but well, she's living with her man, but he's working for both of them to live, and they're living in his grandpa's house. And they've been there for like 12 years, which I don't see a problem with, but she apparently would like a change of pace. And she says that he doesn't let her work, and she also has a back injury or something. So this last year when I went to the auctions, I bought some land for $1,300, and I put her name on there as well. Um, but it happens to be behind a house which was going to go on auction and then it was removed. So if that goes up for auction next year, it's gonna have a minimum of like 5,000 probably on it. And then at that point, if I bought that house, then they could move in there, potentially try to rent their house out, and then give me like a little bit of money off of it. Like if they gave me $100 a month, I'd probably be fine. Like if I spent, let's say $15,000 and I got that house over there, yes, it kind of sucks that they're living there, but if they give me like $100 a month or something out of rent from their house, um, it's like $1,000 in a year. It would take me like 10, 15 years to pay off my thing back if I did that. But um, what I could do though is that if they did that, they could rent their house out, give me $100, and then they would let me take a loan out against the equity of the house that they're in to buy other stuff, which would run the risk of them losing the house if anything ever went wrong. But then we could use that money to slowly build up more properties to pay off that loan. And then it wouldn't have any risk to me, but it would have risks of them a little bit. But I'm always going to take care of my family best I can. And if I bought the house for them to live in the first place, um, the best benefit I could get out of it to continuously try and improve their situation is to use the equity to try and make some more purchases and get some more influx. Because if I'm able to get, I'm not a greedy person, really. Like, I'm perfectly content with what I have at the moment. But I do have an idea in my head that, you know, at this day and age, it takes a lot to make a woman happy for the most part. So you have to go on like trips and have fancy cars or whatever. And I don't particularly care for any of that. But when it comes to before my time is up dying, I want to build a self-sustainable fortress for my family before I'm gone. And I think that's my thing. Like financially, I think rent houses and all that stuff, having all that and running it and everything would be great for my family financially. But I just want like a place that's like a marker on the map for my family's name, you know? A library that has books and information on all the stuff you need to know to kind of financially make it. Like, I think if you're disciplined enough and you're not super greedy or like need a bunch of stuff in your life, it's fairly easy like to make money and kind of live and have a nice life. It's just that over the top thing that people do is where things get out of hand. So leaving some money behind for my family I think would be good, but we know that like a lot of families it doesn't last very long, like 2 or 3 generations, and then someone just comes around, grabs a bunch of money and then spends it all, you know. But I want to like I just want to build a castle, man. I want like to do a construction project that nobody's done in like a long time. I'm not just gonna build it like out of stone and stuff like old days. This modern stuff, uh, rebar, cinder blocks, footers and stuff. My fence is gonna be a giant castle wall. And then like if I ever wanted to get cattle or chickens or anything, like there's no predator on earth that's going to dig underneath or go through that wall. There isn't no cattle, no bull that's ever going to blow through that wall and escape. It's going to like have so many ease of life things there. And then after that, build an upper portion of the land with a big castle on top, and boom. I haven't really decided between a castle and just like a standard house, but I think castle would probably work fine. I think your first floor or so, like your first like 10 feet or something, probably just need to be a full stone bottom. Like the entryway, I like just do a driveway that goes into a sealed area that's your carport, like your garage, your basement. And then from there, you would go upstairs. So like your pantry and everything would be underground. So you'd have your carport, your pantry, and then like your plumbing and stuff would be all underground right there. And then yeah, that would probably be the best way to do it. It's like you like on the left side you'd have your pantry, or no, because then your kitchen would be yeah. Anyway, you'd have your carport, garage area, and then you'd have like you'd probably have to do a carport where you pulled in forward and then parked sideways. So the right side would be your carport, and then the left side would be your pantry, and then you'd have your water pipes and stuff go up from there into your kitchen and bathroom and stuff. So that would be the lower levels. And then the second level would be where you'd put windows and all that, have your living room, your kitchen, and game room or whatever else that you wanted, pool or whatever. Inside your workout room, everything second level. And then third level would be your like bedrooms and stuff. Maybe. Depends on what you want protection from, because like tornado wise, I think bedrooms up top would be kind of odd, but like underground wise, like if your house ever got like attacked for some reason, having them underground would be the closest to the main entrance, but also like yeah, I don't know. Mainly just want a really big, thick wall. None of these like cheap, flimsy fences that you see. And then it's like if someone wanted to film a movie or something there, you could just rent it out or something for the weekend and have people go in there and like film or whatever. Like have a secondary house, you just leave for a couple weeks or however long, rent out your castle, you stick most of your stuff in a storage room or something. But yeah, I'm gonna get off of here.